Call meeting to order. Pledge of Allegiance, Councilmember White. Roll call, please.
Mayor Larkey,
Here.
Councilmember White,
Here.
Councilmember Thompson,
Here.
Councilmember Pryan,
Here.
Councilmember Davidson,
Here.
Councilmember Lawson,
Here.
Councilmember Richardson,
Here.
Councilmember McCallum,
Here.
Councilmember Johnson.
Here.
We have a quorum. No personal appearances today. Unfinished business. 1. Motion to approve final reading of Bill 2024-61.
An ordinance approving an interlocal agreement between the Belton Police Department, Belton Fire Department, Cass County Sheriff's Office, Harrisonville Police Department, Peculiar Police Department, Pleasant Hill Police Department, Raymore Police Department, South Metro Fire Protection District, West Peculiar Fire Protection District, and the Cass County Emergency Services Board.
Present.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any more discussion? Hearing and seeing none. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Pryan,
Aye.
Davidson,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
White,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
McCallum,
Aye.
Lawson,
Aye.
Mayor Larkey,
Yes.
Richardson.
Aye.
Motion carries. 2. Motion approving the final reading of Bill 2024-62.
An ordinance approving an extension of the current fire protection agreement between Mount Pleasant Fire Protection District and the City of Belton.
Present. Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Councilmember Lawson,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Davidson,
Yes.
Richardson,
Aye.
McCallum,
Aye.
Thompson,
Yes.
White,
Aye.
Mayor Larkey,
Yes.
Pryan.
Aye.
Motion carries. F, new business. 1, motion approving the final first reading of Bill 2024-63.
An ordinance approving the 2025 intergovernmental agreement with the Mid-America Regional Council Solid Waste Management District for participation in the Regional Household Hazardous Waste Program.
Present. Second.
A motion and a second. You're up.
This is our annual agreement with Mark for our household hazardous waste program. As you know, every year we have a pickup. 1 year it's in Belton, 1 year it's in Raymore. And so basically the odd years we're in Raymore and the even years we're in Belton. So next year we will be in Raymore with this pickup. This is our annual agreement and it's based upon population. It came to $28,853.42. This is in our budget for this year to sign the agreement and get it all set up for next year. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Go ahead. Go ahead. You go first this time.
Okay. Do we, I've not participated in this before. Can we take, I mean, is there a list of what we could take or what they accept or?
So every year they print out the list before the event. You'll see flyers go out that have exactly what's accepted, but it's all the basic things that in your house, from paint and different things that you can't throw away, you can bring to there.
Electronics.
It also gives you the ability to take things to Lee Summit or Kansas City to their household hazardous waste programs. And like Lee Summit's, I think it's 6 days a week. I don't know if it's open on Sundays or not, where you can take it up there, and it's no cost since Belton's participating in the program.
Okay, so I could go to Kansas City with, for instance, 60 cans of paint?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a limit, but
Okay. Oh, I just wondered if there is a limit. I mean,
I've done it, and I don't believe there's a limit.
okay, all right.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah, I've never had 60 cans of paint in my house I need to get rid of.
Okay.
So.
all right, thank you.
Go ahead.
Okay, so from what I was reading in the packet, it kind of mentioned something about potentially getting data on the usage. I don't know if I've ever seen follow-up data from that, and maybe I just missed it.
I don't think Mark has ever turned any data over to us. I think they have data about how much stuff they've collected, but I've never really delved into it.
Okay, I'd just be curious to see the participation, if we have the breakdown for Belton specifically, just to know that, continue to know this is a worthwhile expense.
Well, this is definitely a worthwhile expense because a lot of times people are lined up for a long distance to get rid of things. It surprises me every year that there's that much more that shows up.
Anybody else? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 2, motion to approve resolution 2024-01.
A resolution authorizing and approving the contract for services for the 2025 Concrete Improvements Project with Terry Snelling Construction, Inc. in the amount of $968,212.50.
Present.
Second.
Motion and a second. You're up.
This is our contract for our mill and overlay and putting our curbs in, our concrete work. So on this contract is just strictly the concrete work. A couple of years ago, we had them in one contract. Found out that the prices were better when we separated them out, so we have them separated out. So we're going to try to get the concrete work done first and then come in and pave later in the late spring, early summer and get the job completed. Including the packet is a list of the streets that we're going to be working on. And this is the second time we bid this job. The first time we bid it, we had an accelerated date on it. No contractors were interested in working on it this last fall. They must have been all full of work, so we extended the date into the late spring, and all of a sudden we got 6 people bidding on it. So it turned out the way we wanted it. So happy to answer any other questions that you have.
Go ahead.
On page 11, that's where it's got the breakdown of the streets. Why are some streets 100% and others 60 and 15?
It's just how much concrete's broken. We don't try to take out good concrete. We just try to take out the ones that are broken, and that stretches the dollars even further.
Because I remember, didn't we do something like this 7, 8, 9 years ago where they replaced certain curbing?
We did it 2 years ago. We
Did it
did it the year
two?
before that. We've done it since 2020.
Because some of the curbings over in Bradford Place anyway, and you could tell the different ones that they've replaced in some, because they would replace some in the middle and then pass it, and then some in the middle and pass it. And some of the ones that were there for years are nice, but some of the ones that they replaced are the ones that are broken. So I'm just curious why some of them were 100%, some 60, some 15.
Anybody else? Go ahead.
I'm going to ask the same question. This has kind of become my MO here, but is there any reason not to go with the lowest bidder?
Not that I'm aware of.
Like, I don't know, better services, something long-term with the city. I don't know. Just wondering if there's any reason not to go with the lowest bidder.
Nope.
Okay.
Anybody else? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 3, motion approving resolution 2024-102.
A resolution approving the reimbursement application for Heart and Hand for certain supplies and security services related to a warming center.
Present.
Second.
Motion and a second. You're up.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. The item in front of you this evening is an approval of an application for a reimbursement to Heart and Hand for certain supplies and services. In March 2024, the council budgeted $10,000 to assist the homeless committee in supporting local organizations in their efforts to create a warming or a cooling shelter. This past summer, the homeless committee and staff developed guidelines for an application process that would allow those Belton-based organizations to apply for those reimbursements tied to the creation of that shelter. At its November 7th meeting, the Homelessness Committee considered an application by Heart and Hand for reimbursement of certain supplies and security services as they begin their own project to offer a warming shelter at their location here downtown. Director Sam Newby presented information to the committee and answered questions by committee members about why he was requesting this through the reimbursement program. The committee ultimately voted 6-1 with Mr. Newby abstaining from the vote. And the committee recommended approval to the city council to approve the reimbursement application. One of the things I did want to point out is it was a question beforehand was kind of what specifically is this going to be purchasing. The committee did have kind of a lengthy discussion about this, but as part of the project narrative, what the committee had decided as a part of its recommendation to the council was that only the items that were included in the project timeline and narrative were going to be items that were going to be eligible for reimbursement through this application. So in short, the items under number 2, project timeline, a reimbursement of cots, blankets, food, hygiene items, and any contracting for security services or laundering services at the facility would be eligible for reimbursement if submitted under this application. Happy to answer any questions that the council might have about this application.
Any questions? Go ahead.
Reviewing the packet, I didn't see any mention of the specific location for the warming shelter. Can we confirm that?
It's at their facility here and they're right at the church here in
Okay,
downtown.
at
I
the
don't, I
church,
don't
because
have
they
the,
have multiple locations. Some of them wouldn't make sense, but
the,
I'm just
yeah,
checking.
200 B Street.
Okay. Was there anything in addition to, so I saw what the application was within the packet. My question is, was there anything more that was discussed or part of the application process that was not, formally written out there?
So part of the discussion really centered around that this is Heart and Hand's first, really their first try at putting together a warming center at their facilities. And so they recognize that there's going to be some lessons learned going forward, but based on, quite a lot of questions had been asked about certain policies they had in place, what exactly they were going to do in terms of procedures and logistics. The committee felt pretty comfortable moving forward with the specific items that were in the application in terms of what the city would be reimbursing, or the committee through this application. The committee tried to, even though they were kind of part of the discussion about what the specific logistics were going to be for the warming shelter, we kind of rolled them back a little bit as to getting too involved, because Heart and Hand is really putting that together now, and some of these items, the rules and other things like that. And so we were going to try to give them some time to really put that together and solidify that. But we wanted to make sure that we had the reimbursement in place as they moved into the winter months under this program.
Okay, so if I understand what you're saying, the committee did have some further deep diving discussion with the applicant,
Correct.
in addition to what we see on the application.
Correct.
Okay, and that ultimately led to an approval. Okay. So I understand that the application states it'll be used for cots, blankets, food, hygiene items, security services, and laundering services. However, I don't see anything that specifically talks about maybe the number of people the shelter would be able to accommodate per night, or maybe the expected number of nights that the money would be able to allow the shelter to operate. And then, of course, what happens to that money in the event that we have a mild winter, or something, or we have the opposite, how many days is that how many nights is that gonna cover, that kind of thing. And I also didn't see anything, because I know the idea was behind not just a warming shelter, but also a cooling shelter in the hot summer months. And I didn't see any mention about that. So look, I want to be clear. I regularly donate to Heart and Hand. Okay, full disclosure here, both their thrift store as well as just monetarily. And so I do believe in the organization, but I'm concerned that the taxpayers don't have necessarily a clear picture of what the finances are doing with this $10,000. And this is kind of the mention I brought up back during the budget session, is the same kind of thought process, which is so anyways, I guess I don't know if anybody has anything else on that, but that's where my concern is.
Well, it's a reimbursement program up to 10,000. So if they only spend 5,000, then they're only going to get reimbursed for the 5,000. They're not getting 10,000 flat. And so they have to prove what they're spending, and they're only able to buy those items with this money: security and the cots and the food and that kind of thing. And they're going to have to show receipts that was purchased. And this only goes till April. And so the cooling is after that, to the next budget. And so they've already passed the cooling.
Okay, that adds a lot of clarity that I don't think is in the application, because right now, if you look at the application, it looks like they're getting reimbursed for these things for $10,000 presently. So if it's only going to be after they provide receipts, and they might not use the full amount of money, or maybe they'll use the full amount of money because they need to spend twice that amount. I don't know. That's not what my point was, is it wasn't very clear, so that definitely clears it up, so I appreciate that.
Mike, who would certify the cost, staff or the committee?
So staff would be doing the certification of those receipts, very similar, kind of as we talked during the work session, very similar to what we do for cost certification under the Chapter 353.
Okay, that's what I figured. Thank you.
Anybody else? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 4, motion approving resolution 2024-103.
A resolution authorizing a 5-year contract extension with Axon Enterprises, Inc. for the Belton Police Department to purchase 45 tasers, equipment, and training services.
Present.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. You're up, sir.
Scott Lyons, Police Chief for Belton. The department currently carries the Taser 7, which is the old version. We're in the last year of that lease program. Taser International, or Axon, Axon, has come out with a new model, and they're offering a chance for police departments to get ahead of the curve in regards to that the Taser 7 not being serviceable over the course of the next 6 months. And so this lease that they're offering us is to take the last year, the final year of this contract, $34,200, and I'm sorry, $32,400, and move that into a new 5-year lease and bring those 5-year lease payments down to $48,599 and some change. With this new Taser, it's a Taser 10. It is a newer model. It does a lot different as far as the way that it operates, and it's going to cause a big shift in our industry as far as law enforcement with use of force. It's a better device. It also integrates with a virtual reality system that comes with it, and we'll be purchasing in next year's budget some equipment so we can put our individual officers through use of force scenarios to make them more effective in dealing with scenarios that they may encounter. And so the total of this 5-year lease program is $275 and $146.
Any questions? Go ahead.
I heard the mayor wasn't sure about the effectiveness of it. Could you do a live demonstration once we obtain them?
You know
Yes,
me, I'll
we can do
anything.
that.
You got it?
No, I was just pointing to him.
Anybody else? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item G, consent agenda. One motion not available to approve the recommendations noted. Any member of the council may ask taken from the consent agenda for discussion and separate action.
Present.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Communication from City Council. Councilmember Johnson.
Just congratulations to Belton Welfare. I think it was a successful Mayor's Christmas tree lighting. And I want to thank staff for dealing with a problem I brought to their attention yesterday. That manhole cover had been taken and then brought back. So that was very odd. But I appreciate that being taken care of. Thanks.
Interesting.
I'll tell you about it later.
All right. Go ahead.
Yeah, the light parade, the Christmas tree lighting, it was just a great event. Fantastic to see the most amount of money we've ever given to the Welfare Association. I thought that was awesome. And Main Street looks great. So I think, it was great seeing everybody out, and I just think that was the right call. I'm glad we were able to make that happen. I want to give a huge shout out to Parks on that for bringing the snow to the parade since the mayor didn't bring any snow.
Yeah.
They did a fantastic job.
Here?
And you could tell it was a huge hit with everybody. So whoever had that idea, great job, Parks. You've set a bar pretty high for future years. I'll just say I hope everybody has a wonderful Thanksgiving. Please remember to be careful when you're out there shopping Black Friday deals. I do have a couple board updates. So the TDD board, I'm sure everybody has seen at this point, Mullen Road has officially been open. And there was a big check written for that I know, Greg, I believe you have gotten. The next project on the list is the road connection between 187th and North Cass, the east to west there. And then just some other parks information. You'll see some updates around town. Peace Park got some upgraded maintenance for a memorial bench going in there. And the concrete for the Rose Garden has also been completed. Tickets are available for a picnic with St. Nick. That'll take place at High Blue on December 7th. $5 gets you a lunch and a picture with Santa. There's also family Christmas gifts available to purchase, I believe, at High Blue as well. So that's everything I have.
Light parade, great. Everything went great. There was somebody dressed as the Grinch. I feel was fitting costume for whoever that was.
Well, that's kind of harsh. That's kind of harsh.
I don't think it's that bad. Also, I believe our mural is done under I-49. Almost done. Very, very close. Within the next week, I believe. So that's something everybody ought to check out too. Pretty cool under there. Runs under I-49, right by Menards. That's all I got.
I'll echo that the mayor's tree looks amazing. The light parade was great. I hope staff has a great Thanksgiving and likes not having to come in and manage that event during the holiday. So +1 for the timing this year.
I also had a great time at the parade. I will thank the mayor for asking for snow because we got the opposite. It was quite balmy out, so ask for snow every year.
I think it's been said. I mean, the lights were great. Everything was good Saturday night, so have a good holiday.
I went to the mayor's luncheon, the state of the city. It was nice. The sound system works great. Thanks, Parks. The echo is still a little crazy in there, so hopefully we can get some of that worked out. The mayor did a good job reporting all our, and the videos that everyone did were nice, and it was enjoyed. I also went to Tampa for the National League of Cities Convention and had the best time. I've not done it before, so it was very fun for me. I learned a lot. I've probably talked to a whole lot of people that really don't want to hear all the stuff I've learned, but I appreciate the fact that I could go. And happy Thanksgiving.
We have a Ward 4 meeting scheduled for December 9th at Memorial Station at 6 to 7:30. So please, all Ward 4 members, pass the word and come. I also went to Tampa, and the session that really sticks out to me, it was the one on homeless. And it opened my eyes as far as the way we need to view the issues as a community level and not an individual level. And so again, happy Thanksgiving to all that are listening, and for those who are going to watch it later, happy Thanksgiving to you later.
All right, thanks everybody. Again, tree lighting and parade went excellent. We donated over $14,000 to Welfare Association, which I believe is the most we've ever collected. So I want to thank everybody that donated, businesses and whoever donated. Some of our money went to pay what council donated to pay for the hot dogs and the water and the buns for everybody. I want to thank Andrea and her family for all they did that day. You stepped up and went above and beyond, so thank you, and thank your family for me, please. And all I got is happy Thanksgiving to everybody. So that's all I got.
A few things for you, Mr. Mayor and the council. Regarding the Mullen project at Cambridge, the striping on that, the permanent striping on that won't come until spring. There should be some temporary striping to help us get through there. The reason for the delay on that is because Apparently, the company that they get the paint from won't warranty it if it's applied at a certain temperature. Has to be warm enough. And so we're going to wait until we have some prolonged warm weather to get that permanent striping done. Also, everybody's probably noticed that the 58 project with the Peculiar Drive reroute is essentially done. We apologize to the public for both of those projects going on at the same time. That was something we could not help, unfortunately. You know, sometimes when we get these awards on these projects, a lot of federal and state funding is coming to us, and we're only paying a portion of those costs, and we have to do those projects when we get the funding. And so, yeah, we realize that ideally we would stagger those types of projects and not do them at the same time, but we're also going to try to stretch our taxpayer dollars as much as we possibly can and take advantage of those programs when we can get some grant funding. And so some short-term pain in the terms of this summer and fall for long-term gain is the hope on that. And also for those in the public who might be watching this meeting, if you're interested in the State of the City address, it is available online. So that is there. That's all I've got.
Can we put something out on Facebook about that striping? Not
Sure can.
happening until.
Yep, absolutely.
All right. Okay, items for review and discussion. Item 1, golf carts.
Good evening, everyone. I wanted to get your feedback. Obviously, it's not our protocol to come to you for any kind of budget amendment during the season, but things have been very good, and I feel confident in where we're going to end up with our budget this year and everything else. We do have plans to upgrade our golf fleet, which is our carts that we rent to our customers next year. Ideally, where our budget starts to where those deliveries would fall would be problematic for us because the fiscal year would start April 1st. We'd be looking at late May to mid-June, July, depending on the supplier and how things would go. And so I'm asking you for your feedback on moving forward with the budget amendment to where we could look at doing that purchase early so that we could get those golf carts in early spring, because that is the time that we're setting our rates. We'd like to know that those carts are going to be there. Hopefully you read in the packet as well, it's our intent to upgrade to a GPS package on our golf cart. So that would give you the yardage, the describing of the hole, to give you some tips on how you might play it if you're a new golfer to the golf course. So very nice features, things that you're going to find at your higher end golf courses, and we can provide that to our customers as well. So I feel like it's a great upgrade opportunity for us. It also has some back end features that allow us to track pace of play, allow us to know where the golf carts are out on the golf course. We can send messages. Those carts can send messages to us. So communication between us and the customer becomes more fluent and just a better overall experience for our consumers. So with that, we would be looking at, if we got your approval and your feedback to move forward with this, we'd be looking at the January 14th meeting. We would come at you with the budget amendment, and then we'd be looking at a resolution for the purchase of the golf carts, and then there would be a contract for the GPS portion of that purchase. So that's just more of a annual lease agreement on those GPS pieces. The golf carts we own, the GPS we don't. So when we go to trade for the next fleet on down the road, should the technology still be viable, we could just take that GPS and put it onto the next golf cart fleet. We wouldn't necessarily have to buy all new equipment. We would still have the service fees that go along with it, and that's where that comes in. So really just here to entertain your questions, thoughts, ideas. Once again, feel good about where we're at for the year. It's been a great year for us again, and
we're looking forward to a good 25.
Any questions? Let him go first.
Yeah, I just wanted, the reason we're coming forth with this as a potential possibility is because the golf course has had another great year and the revenues are very strong. And so this was something that was going to have to be budgeted and done fairly soon anyway. So we're looking at FY 26 to do this. And so because the revenues have been so strong at the golf course last couple of years and the trends are still going up as far as usage of our course, we think it's worthwhile to go ahead and make this reinvestment, and the timing just makes too much sense. I mean, we wouldn't want to try to switch things out in the middle of their busy season, which is, May, June, July. When we can switch it out, before the busy season starts. It just is the prudent thing for us to do.
Go ahead.
Since you'd be coming back in January with the budget amendment, the GPS, since that's a service, will that be on the January, or will that be just starting in your budget in April?
So we would go ahead and, have the attorney look at the language and fix whatever needs to be prepared for our purposes. They gave me a sample to be able to send to him because they work obviously with many municipalities and government entities. So the idea would be is to go ahead and move forward with all 3 entities in January, and then they would just be executed when the service fees for the GPS wouldn't start until we received the golf carts.
Anybody else? Go ahead.
Did I hear you say that it would track the carts, so it would be a security feature as well?
It is, yeah. So they have some new technology. Normally, you could only see this technology in electric-powered vehicles, but we can geofence the golf course. We can geofence areas inside the golf course. So, for example, a day where it's wet conditions, we could have cart path only. So if you left the cart path, you would have to put the cart in reverse and back out of those areas. I know that some people don't like those. We love those from a management standpoint. But yes, we can geofence. So if a golf cart was to leave the property, certainly doesn't stop anybody from stealing something. Unfortunately, you can have cameras, alarms, and everything else, and somebody can still steal something. But it's going to make it more difficult. So we're going to know quicker, sooner, faster, where was the last place that golf cart was at. And if they turn the vehicle on and it's powered, it's going to send a GPS signal, so we would then be able to report where that's at on down the road. So very nice features.
And I don't know how to tell you this, but I strayed and I went to a competing golf course that already has this, and it was pretty nice because it advertised what the lunch specials were. It did stop me from going past the cart in part, so it is very effective.
And it's nice because there are temporary hazards that happen. So, for example, if you had an area that just got wet for whatever particular reason, whether it was a rainstorm or whatever, and you have one little area, you could just circle that area so you don't have to shut the whole golf course down from taking carts off. You could just decide that area is the only area we don't want you to go into. So there's nice features to it for sure. And there is, should we want to look at those things, there's obviously menus and things that you can put on there as well.
Go ahead.
So you can even geofence all the bunkers, sand bunkers, because I believe like a year or two ago we had somebody drive through one of the bunkers at night.
I did.
Oh, was that you?
Yes, I did. I did.
That's a good idea then.
Night golf has its pluses and minuses.
It definitely did.
But no harm, no foul on that one. It was a nice flat bunker, so he was okay there.
Anybody else? Anybody have an issue with this coming back?
No.
Hearing that? Thanks. See you in January.
Thank you all very much. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thanks, Jay.
Item 2, MS4 permit presentation. Get your blankets out.
Okay. I know you guys have been excited, just waiting for this. Every year, we have to give an annual stormwater report. It's basically the same report you saw last time, so if you've been here for several years, you're getting good at this, maybe you could present it instead of me. Basically, every city is regulated on stormwater, and the stormwater that leaves the city we all have permits on how to do it. It's called our MS4 permit. And every city has an MS4 permit. Part of that permit is we're going to look at the 6 areas of the permit today. But it basically regulates what water comes, the water that when it leaves the city. And so we have to do water quality and water quantity is what we really are looking at. Part of the requirement of the permit is that we come to the city council every year and make a presentation on our permit. Our permit hasn't changed, and the permit is from 21 until 26, so our permit hasn't changed, and nothing very dramatic from Missouri DNR has changed in the requirements. The biggest thing during our permit time is the number of outfalls. So that's the number of places that water leaves somewhere and enters the city. It used to be the outfalls were just where the water would actually leave the city, but now it's where it leaves every parking lot, where it leaves every different place and enters into a creek in the city. And so that is something that we review every year. There are 6 MCMs, minimum control measures, that we're required to report on and required to do, and we're going to go through these 6. The first one is public education and outreach. One of the things that we do is we try to do stormwater everywhere we go and every time we have an event. So even when we have a touch a truck event, we try to tell the kids about stormwater. And they always want to know, how come you guys are always talking about stormwater? It's because we have a permit that requires us to go out and talk about stormwater every chance we get to anybody who's willing to listen. There's not a lot of people who contact us and say, hey, why don't you come do a presentation on stormwater at our event? But if there is, we're more than happy to talk about it. So we have to talk about it, and it's basically letting people know you're not supposed to be mowing your yard and throwing all your leaves and everything into a catch basin. You're not supposed to be doing those things. Don't dump fertilizer and everything else that you get left over in your house into a catch basin. Those are supposed to go to the Household Hazardous Waste Program. And so we go out and we do all these things and try to teach people what a B&P is, best management practice, on how to handle water, how we're supposed to be doing things, how to get the best water quality. And so we do outreach every chance we get. The second one is public participation. Every year we hold a meeting. I believe last year's meeting and the year before, I think the year before we had 2 people at it, but you're one of the 2. And then last year we had, I think, 1 person participate with us. And so, but we do public outreach. We try to get public comments about stormwater and the things we do, and you get a chance to look at our permit. We discuss the 6 MCMs and gather anybody's input on how we do it. Our next one is illicit discharge detection and elimination. So illicit discharges, at any time that somebody is dumping something into a creek that they shouldn't be doing. This has actually happened probably once a year. We get a call from Missouri DNR. We have to go investigate a business that has dumped something into a creek. Some people are continuously dumping something out of their facility. Some people just do it one time, whether it be a byproduct of manufacturing business, or whether it's somebody who is outside. For instance, I can think of several, but one is paint. If someone has lead paint on something and there's out there scraping lead paint and it's just flying everywhere, you're not allowed to do that. You actually have to contain all your paint scrapings, and you're not supposed to let it on the ground. There's also people who have different vehicles, engines that are leaking oil into the ground. Those are also illicit discharges. You can't be dripping oil everywhere. It goes through, I'm just trying to think if there's anything other exciting about it. Our basic job is to eliminate people doing discharge. We used to have a person who was changing oil as a business on a city street, and oil was getting everywhere. And so that's an illicit discharge. Number 4 is construction site runoff control. This is the one you probably hear about the most, is that at all the different construction sites, you see the silt fences put up. There's different ways of containing mud so mud doesn't get in the street. And people came saying, why is Public Works so bent on trying to prevent mud getting into the streets? Is it that big of a deal? Well, it's in our permit that we don't allow mud or clay or anything rock to get out into the streets or get into our storm system. People forget that all our inlets lead to a creek somewhere. So what goes onto the street ends up in a creek. And so one of the things that you'll see on every one of our storm inlet boxes, you'll either see a medallion that's about this big around that says this inlet goes to a creek, or sometimes it's printed into the lid that this inlet goes to a creek. So you remember, anything you're putting in there is going to affect the wildlife in that creek. And so one of the things we have to do is control in our construction program, whether it's a house or any sort of business or any sort of development, what sort of silt runs off the site so it doesn't get into creeks, clog the creeks, and destroy the natural habitats. That's one of the things that we do on a regular basis. Number 5 is post-construction management. This is a very, very difficult thing to do, and I'm sure you're all quite aware of it. There's a lot of subdivisions get built, and we require them to put in some sort of detention pond. Some are detention, some are retention. Retention's there's different ones that hold water and ones that are dry. But basically, after a subdivision is built, that becomes the custody and control of the homeowners association or the property owners association for that subdivision. It's not owned by the city. But we're supposed to go through and check to make sure they're being maintained and they're still open, and then contact them, telling them that they need to do maintenance to these facilities. Some places do a fantastic job of mowing them, keeping them very clean. Some are just basically never maintained and just have weeds and all sorts of things growing out of them. And we notify them they need to maintain these. Everybody who has a detention pond is supposed to have a plan on how they're supposed to maintain it, and they're supposed to stick to the plan. This is a very difficult thing to keep up with, because a lot of subdivisions want to eliminate their HOAs or property owner associations, and then nobody's maintaining the ponds anymore. But this is part of our permit to watch those. The last item is pollution prevention, good housekeeping for municipal operations. So one of the things that we do is we actually go out and train all the field staff every year on our MS4 permit. We also inspect our facilities to make sure that all of our facilities are in good shape. And like for us at Public Works, one of the things we got to make sure the salt is not escaping the lot from our big salt pile and not going down into the creek. Other people could have chemicals, and they just need to make sure they're in chemical storage areas so the cans don't leak and get into the streams. If there's anything out there, we just kind of go through all the facilities and take a quick look to make sure there's nothing that's going to escape our facilities and get into the natural waters. And that's just one of the other things that we do. In summary, I know this has been exciting. The city has a stormwater permit through DNR, and basically we're here to do what we can to enforce it. DNR normally calls us, and we end up having to do the enforcement. A lot of people think that DNR comes out and issues fines. It's really left to Public Works to handle anything that DNR sees that needs to be corrected. Happy to answer any questions you have.
Go ahead.
Thank you for the riveting presentation. Wanda and I would like to invite you to a Ward 4 meeting, so that way you can then present this. So we will when we schedule you, we'll let you know.
That's fantastic. And we actually have an individual that normally takes care of all this. I'll tell him he's going to get a chance to give a speech.
Anybody else? Go ahead.
More of a comment than a question. I saw recently one of our scout troops here locally had an Eagle Scout project where they were putting the no dumping drains to creek signs all over the city. So just want to give a shout out. You know, this is obviously something important for even our youth that live here. So thanks.
Yes, they did go. It's an important thing. We've had volunteers over time put those medallions on, and last we had Boy Scouts out there putting that on for us, which was a great help. And I believe they finished the entire city for us.
Anybody else? Thank you. All right, item L, I'd entertain a motion to enter into executive session to discuss matters pertaining to legal action according to Missouri State Statute 610.021.1 pertaining to leasing, purchase, sale of real estate according to Missouri State Statute 610.021.2 pertaining to negotiated contracts according to Missouri State Statute 610.021.12, and the record be closed and the meeting adjourned from there.
Present.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Mayor Larkey,
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson,
Yes.
Pryan,
Yes.
White,
Aye.
Richardson,
Aye.
McCallum,
Aye.
Lawson,
Aye.
Thompson,
Yes.
Davidson.
Yes.
Motion passes.